זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק, נצטווינו. אנו זוכרים ואנו נלחמים.
It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true.
אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
Very puzzled by the constant concern which the world is showing for the Palestinian people and is actually showing for these horrible, inhuman animals who have done the worst atrocities that this century has seen.
נלחמים חיות אדם. עזה לא תחזור להיות מה שהייתה וחמאס לא יהיה. חסל את הכל.
مع هيك وحوش بشرية رايحين نتعامل كيف لازم. إسرائيل فرضت إغلاق كامل على غزة.
هناك إسرائيليون يعني وصفوا الفلسطينيين في غزة وصفوهم بأنهم حيوانات بل أقل من حيوانات.
أنا لا أسويهم بالحيوانات لأن هذا تحقير للحيوانات.
هذا رأيك دكتور مردخاي؟
نعم هذا رأيي.
תכסחו אותם כמה שיותר, שלא נשים מהם זכר. שלא הם, לא אמא שלהם, לא הילדה שלהם, לא התינוקות שלהם. אסור להם לחיות לחיות האלה. יש לך שכן ערבי, אתה לא תחכה שהוא יבוא אליך הביתה. תיכנס אליו הביתה ותירה.
תראה, לצורך
לא, אתה חושב שאנחנו יכולים להרוג מאות אלפי פלסטינים ברצועת עזה והדבר הזה יעבור?
תראה, עכשיו בתקשורת הזרה יוצאת הודעה בשם ישראל שמיליון פלסטינים כבר ירדו מדרום הרצועה דרומה, וכל מי שנשאר שם נחשב כמחבל.
תשמיד את עזה עכשיו, עכשיו. עזה הופכת לדרזדן, כן.
הארץ שלנו. כל הארץ. כולל עזה. כולל לבנון. כל הארץ המובטחת.
That's amazing.
Hey, Walter.
I throw it.
Sure.
Ready? Here comes the ball. There it goes. There it goes. You got it. Careful. Careful.
Good to see you again, mate.
Quick, quick. Quick, quick. Quick, quick. Oh, he's a bit tired now. He's been running all the time with it.
Yeah.
He's a bit tired.
Good to catch him again. Good to see you.
Yeah, you take care, hey?
See you next time.
Yeah, come on, Walter. We're going in the car now.
Well, look at that, folks. Good old Walter here to greet me at the park. What a great dog. He came running up to say hello to me, tried to jump on me, almost knocked me over. But you get that. Bit of a bleak day here today, folks, as you can see. Look, we've got a tree down. Remember I was telling you where the ground is getting so soft that some of the trees are just falling over. Well, there's one there that's just fallen over because of all this rain. It's been non-stop rain for like, I've been here almost 3 months now, and it's been non-stop rain for the whole time. It's just crazy. And I was still waterlogged all over here through the park. Ground here is quite squishy. It's just unreal. Absolutely unreal. See, what a world we live in, folks. What a time it's been. You know, all this stuff that's been happening in the last 5 years, COVID, all the lockdowns, the genocide in Gaza, this new way of waging war, if that's what you want to call it. It isn't a war, it's a slaughter. But the legitimizing of bombing hospitals and schools and all this terrorists hiding inside, you know. This whole new way of doing things, the pager attack in Lebanon. It's okay to carry out one of the worst terror attacks in history if you say you're at war with the people. Blowing people's hands off, blowing their eyes out, like just leaving people crippled. You imagine picking up a pager and blowing up in your hands, blowing your hands off and blinding you, and you're just there with no hands and blind for the rest of your life. You know, next level cruelty. The slaughter of children in Gaza, the stuff that's happening there is unbelievable, folks. And it's just gotten worse. You know, all of this stuff, the lockdowns, the surveillance, COVID, everything, the surveillance state that's been brought online, and if you complain about it, well, this is what you're prepared to do to you. We'll blow your hands off with pages, we'll bomb your hospitals, we'll terrorize your children, sniping children, shooting them in the head. You know, the death toll they're saying in Gaza has been at like 45 to 51,000. They've been saying this for the last 6 months. The real death toll is estimated to be somewhere between 680,000 and 1 million, which sounds a lot more like it. Not to mention the amount of people that are still buried under rubble and all this sort of shit. So, you know, but this whole new way of doing things that we've seen unfold in the world in the last 5 years. This is everything that we warned people about for like 20 years. We were warning people about this sort of stuff. Sorry folks, whippersnipper over there. But we were warning people about all this sort of stuff for 20 years. Warning us that this is where it's going to go. That this is what the New World Order is all about. It's a surveillance nanny state where government-sponsored domestic terrorism just runs unchallenged, which is what we're seeing in Gaza. They've just gone in there now, Netanyahu, I mean, and Hamas has offered to release the hostages time and time again. Netanyahu says, no, we won't let you release the hostages until you stop defending yourselves completely. In other words, you know, lay down your weapons. It's same with Iran. They want Iran to not have any nuclear program, don't have any means of defending yourself. We don't like the fact that you put locks on your doors. What's that all about? We're going to put locks on our doors, but we don't think you should have locks on your doors, is basically what Israel says to all of its neighbours. And they've just totally obliterated Gaza, and now they've rallied all the reserves and they've sent a massive ground force into Gaza to clean it out completely. Now they want to petition it into basically military zones and 2 or 3 major concentration camp areas in the centre where they'll just torture and humiliate and make life extremely difficult for the people of Palestine until they want to leave. You know, and they don't want to leave. They want to stay there. It's their land. But they're going in there with ground troops now, and they're just literally bulldozing what's left of the homes and just turning the whole place into a desert. It's disgraceful what they're doing in there, folks, and these are people's homes. This was a city. Oh, it's no genocide. Of course it's a fucking genocide. What are you talking about? But this is the sort of stuff they're prepared to do, you know, and they ordered the evacuation of Gaza City, central Gaza, saying, you know, we're going to be going in there and cleaning out Hamas, which there isn't any Hamas, hardly any left anymore. Well, anybody who resists, I suppose, is Hamas these days. Anybody is Hamas. Anybody, if you're a Palestinian, you're Hamas. But they order the evacuation, and this is a psychological game they play. Now, because the people haven't got anywhere to evacuate to, they've been displaced so many times in the last 18 months, they've got nowhere to go. But they say, well, because we ordered an evacuation, those who don't evacuate must be Hamas, and so are justified in killing them. This is the logic that they play. This is the way, you know, they train their soldiers to think this way, and it's the sort of thing that they present to the rest of the world. Well, we told all the fighters to leave and they didn't, so therefore they must have been fighters. You know? Psychological abuse. I mean, it's just the way the Israelis play. Israelis have a strategy in all their politics. What they do is they lie, and then they never admit that they lied, and then they keep lying. And they always accuse the enemy of doing what they are doing as they are doing it, because it plants the seeds of confusion. You know, they condemn Hamas for cutting the heads off babies when it's actually them cutting the heads off Palestinian babies. They attack Hamas and the Palestinians for shooting a pregnant woman when it's actually they who shoot pregnant Palestinian women all the time. So much, in fact, that the IDF actually sells t-shirts to commemorate it when it happens. 1 shot, 2 kills. That's the way they think. Yeah, and the reason I've been so focused on this is because this is who is in control of all of our governments. And this is their big push for world takeover. That's why all the celebrations on the street. You see all the pro-genocide rallies that they have around the world, and they're all happy and dancing and celebrating life, they say. We're not celebrating death, and we're not creating disturbance the way the Palestinian supporters are. We're celebrating life. You're celebrating the fact that they believe that this is their final move. This is the big push they're going to make for world domination. And the rules they're going to play by are what you're seeing in Gaza, what you've seen with all of our politicians. They've bought and paid for all Western countries. Here in Australia, it's so uncomfortable being here, and I love this place. But honestly, a standard low-level home in the suburbs, just a cheap house, is about $1 million here now. They've got cameras everywhere. You drive from the Gold Coast to Brisbane, you drive through around about 200 or more surveillance cameras on the highway, just between the Gold Coast and Brisbane. They've literally got a surveillance camera about every 100 metres or 200 metres. They've got a surveillance camera on the highway. It's just remarkable. You break the speed limit by 2 or 3 miles an hour, you get a ticket in the mail. Everything is surveilled. The cost of living is absolutely unbelievable. The price of groceries is unbelievable. The price of rentals is unbelievable. They're making it impossible for people to be able to live any type of comfortable or decent life here in Australia. And the rain, the weather manipulation, the geoengineering. Like, this ground is literally squishy that I'm walking on. And like I showed you, this tree here, this just fallen over since the last time I was here. And it's all geoengineered. This whole thing is geoengineered. I mean, that's what this whole last 5 years has been all about, folks. It's been about bringing on this surveillance state and letting you know what the rules are going to be. The rules that we've seen in Gaza. As I've said so many times, if we do not deal with this situation there, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And that's what's happening. They're showing us. Yeah, and we're living in a world where a genocide is being live streamed on Twitter, on X, going to everybody's computers, everybody's cell phones. Anybody who watches social media is seeing this genocide unfold. And the world's doing nothing. People protesting in the streets, sure, I mean, it's great, show of solidarity, but it doesn't do anything. Marching down the street with flags doesn't do anything, folks. You've got to understand that this genocide is being supported by your own governments. I've said this so many times. Your governments have invalidated themselves. And we don't need any type of violent revolution. We just need to call these people out for what they are. All of our governments are invalid because all of our governments are supporting war crimes. And that's simply the way it is. And it's not even a debatable point anymore. It's absolutely true. Yeah, it's undeniable now, folks. They're all war criminals, and government itself. I mean, politics is just this pompous political puppet show. These parasites get up there and they just act all pompous and say all types of bullshit that people think actually means something on TV when it doesn't. And they're all just war criminals. They're just reveling in this shit, folks. They really think they've won, which is why they're reveling in it so much. And the reason is because nobody knows what to do about it. Everyone thinks that there's a political solution or some sort of even legal solution. These people run the legal system, for God's sake. And all these, theatrics of countries going against each other, it's all a one puppet show, folks. A pompous political puppet show of pathetic parasites pontificating their bullshit on the rest of the world. And people just go along with it. See that Time magazine cover the other day with Trump there as King Trump. King fucking Trump. Trump wants to actually annex Gaza for the United States and turn it into what he calls a freedom zone. Freedom zone. What's a freedom zone? What are you going to do there and just have porn parties or something and have all your pedophilia there? Send Jeffrey Epstein there because he's probably not dead. I mean, who knows, But it's just unbelievable, and people just go along with this shit because they can't see the way out. They can't see that the solution is them. King Trump. Fucking hell. King Trump. Turn Gaza into a freedom zone. Fucking freedom zone, Netanyahu wants to go in there and storm Gaza with full force, and that's exactly what he's doing, folks. My friend Nadal is there. He's in northern Gaza. He is in such a desperate situation. He's trying to be really wise and cautious with food, trying to get food because there's bugger all left. I haven't heard from him in a few days. I always get terribly concerned for him when I don't hear from him. It boggles the mind that the world is just allowing this to happen. The fact that nobody's doing anything about it. No one's calling their governments out. They're marching in the streets, sure. But all of these governments, what are they worth if they're allowing this genocide to continue and they're just supporting about it and they're pontificating and talking about other sorts of crap, tax cuts and this and that and the education system. Well, forget the genocide going on over here. Forget the children being raped and shot and having their heads cut off by Israeli terrorists. Forget all that, because Israel, it can't be a terrorist state. These are holy warriors in God's army. Fucking bullshit they are. And we're getting to the final stages of this, and we're getting to a state where the world has declined into total moral bankruptcy. We're live streaming a genocide on social media. We're allowing our countries to be turned into surveillance states run by lying parasites who believe that if we pay more taxes, climate change will go away. There is no freaking climate change. They're just milking the world dry. Putting up all these wind farms and all these solar panels and all this shit, all they're doing is stealing farmland and polluting the environment. None of these wind farms are worth anything. None of the solar panels are worth anything. We had free energy here for hundreds and hundreds of years until these parasites took it away from us. And the world is deteriorating to a point of moral bankruptcy and complete stupidity. It's kind of mind-blowing, folks. It really is. And to see what's happened to Australia, it's such a beautiful country, and I just feel uncomfortable even being here because of the amount of surveillance, the amount of control. The quality of food has deteriorated in the last 3 years while I've been away. The quality of life, the quality of everything here has deteriorated so much. A lot of the people in Australia probably can't see it because they've been living through it, and it's a gradual process. Let's do a little bit more over a period of a few months more, and keep people busy, tied up in politics and all the bullshit that they give them on TV and all this crap, so they don't really notice what's going on. And this is what you get. And it's kind of freaky, folks. It's really freaky because it's such a beautiful place. But yeah, Gideon's chariots, they're calling this latest incursion into Gaza. They always come up with these holy names for it. Gideon's chariots. It sounds really good, doesn't it? No, it's just a bunch of terrorists going in there and ethnically cleansing what is left of the Palestinian people. And Netanyahu's going to get hung out to dry through all this as well. I mean, he's one of the most hated people on earth. But they'll do that, they'll ethnically cleanse a place and then they'll blame Netanyahu and say it's the Knesset, it's the government. It's not the Jews, it's the Zionists. No, it's the Jews, folks. It's the Jews. They've done this, you know, Zionism's only been around for 150 years. They've done this in every place they've ever lived in. That's why they were kicked out of 109 countries 1,030 times over the last 2,000 years, because they always do this shit. Like I've said before, send them all to Oblast. Put them all in Jewish Autonomous Oblast, which is in eastern Russia. It was created for them in 1929, finalised I think in 1934. It is a land for the Jewish people. Put them all in there, build a big frickin' wall around the place like what they put around with Gaza, and then let them do their things. They can kill chickens all day and pass their sins off and do all this crap they do. Rape and terrorise their own children. Don't do it to ours. But we've reached a state of moral decline, which is just, it's incredible. I mean, not the whole world. There's a lot of people that are speaking out about this. But so much of the world is in a state of moral decline because this is just being allowed to happen. And it should never be allowed to happen. It's been horrendous, folks, absolutely horrendous what is going on. Yeah, and look what's happened to the United States. King fucking Trump, for God's sake. They're sending $10 million a day to Israel, the United States. But they can't provide for their people. There's homeless people all over the place. The cities are in a state of complete disrepair. They can't do anything about it, but they can send $10 million a day to Israel. What the fuck is that all about, folks? What the fuck is that all about? You know, government, like I said, folks, it's a political, pompous puppet show. And it always has been. And what they've done over the last 5 years, I mean, it all really, you can take it back, it goes way back to like World War II or even World War I. But all kind of culminated in the Nuremberg show trials, which were complete show trials. The Nuremberg trials, where they brought in all of these rules and all these regulations and, you know, all the crap that they brought in, it was 75% Jews. The whole court was stacked with Jews. And, you know, we know that in 1941, that guy put out that book, Germany Must Perish. We know that World War II actually began 6 years before the world knew about it. It began in 1933 when world jury declared war on Germany in 1933 and put economic sanctions against the country and basically drove it into, you know, World War II because the Jews wanted World War II, because this whole thing has been a play for them to get Palestine.
In 1932, Bernard Lakash, president of the World Jewish League, said, "Germany is our public enemy number one. It is our object to declare war without mercy against her." In March of 1933, before the Germans had enacted any anti-Jewish laws and before any hostilities against the Jews had taken place, worldwide Jewish leaders officially issued a declaration of war against Germany. A worldwide Jewish boycott of German goods began. 20,000 Jews protested at New York City Hall. Rallies and boycotts were directed against German goods. Samuel Untermyer, speaking on behalf of international Jewry, declared war on Germany with an economic boycott. The front page of the March 24th London Daily Express carried the headline, "Judea declares war on Germany." Jewish leaders were quoted as calling for a holy war against the German people. The Jewish wholesaler will quit his house, the banker his stock exchange, the merchant his business, and the beggar his humble hut in order to join the holy war against Hitler's people. The Express said that Germany was now confronted with an international boycott of its trade, its finances, and its industry. In London, New York, Paris, and Warsaw, Jewish businessmen are united to go on an economic crusade. In August of 1933, Samuel Untermyer talked about a planned annihilation and extermination of Jews underway, and also about a war that must be waged against Germany to stop it. In a hysterical radio broadcast, Untermyer called for the Jews to destroy Germany in a sacred war, denouncing the Germans as cruel, savage beasts and ingrates. Untermyer claimed that the Germans were annihilating the Jews by locking them up in vile concentration camps, starving and torturing them, murdering and beating them.
Judea exists in Palestine, and that's the only way they can claim they have any nationality or any heritage at all, when they don't, because the people who are running Israel aren't real Jews, they're Khazars. They're all from Europe, and they have no connection to the place, but by adopting the Jewish faith and calling themselves Jew, they're able to claim that they have a heritage in Judea, which means they're able to steal a country. And not only that, they get to genocide the Palestinian people, and that's the sort of stuff they like. They like genocide, they like death. Judaism is, in fact, a death cult. Every major Jewish holiday is the celebration of a massacre of non-Jews. They call it victory in battle. It's a day when we had a great victory in battle and freed the Jewish people. There's all this sort of crap. Really, it's the fact that they were being driven out of wherever they were because they were doing all the bad things that they always do, and they stopped that and they fought back against the people who were driving them out and killed them all. And they celebrate it as a great day of Jewish celebration, when really it's just a massacre of non-Jews. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. That's what the whole world is about, folks. And now they're doing it to the entire world. See, they're pissed off. I mean, they were kicked out of 109 countries. 109 countries in 2,000 years. Most of them European countries, countries of European heritage. And they didn't like that. They want to get back at the people who did all of that sort of stuff to them. And so they invented this system of mind control, modern government. That's all government is, guba mente, control mind control. As I've often said, the whole system that people are trying to bring down and find legal ways out of and all this sort of crap, I mean, you're fighting a cloud. The whole system itself is simply your belief that the system is real. Your belief that government actually has any authority over you, because these lying parasites write all this stuff down on paper and call it law. When really there's only one law, which is God's law, and that is do no harm. And everything in the legislation that they write down causes harm. So how is it law? It's actually opposite to law. It's the colour of law, but it's not real law. They create these societies, promote all this division amongst the societies, so everyone's fighting against each other and blaming everybody else for their problems. All the black people blaming white people for slavery, when it was actually all the slave trade was run by Jews. And the first slaves in America, the slaves who actually built America, were white people. They were Irish slaves, but they didn't call them slaves, they called them indentured servants. It wasn't slavery, it was indentured servitude. Sounds a little better than slavery, but it was the same thing. And any blacks that were brought over there were brought over on Jewish slave ships, and 75% of the slave owners in the US during that time were Jewish slave owners. But I know it's white privilege, because some of the Jews look white, so they're able to promote that whole concept. They're white when they want to be, and they're Jews when they want to be. It's sort of the way it works. But this whole thing's been brought about by design. And like I said, the modern foundation of it, I mean, the modern culmination of it all was the Nuremberg show trials, which put all of these war rules and regulations and stuff in place, all of which Israel has now gone out and broken, every single one of them. Collective punishment, Gaza Strip, collective punishment, you know, bombing of civilian areas, starvation as a weapon of war, all the genocide, you know, killing children, sniping civilians, deliberately bombing schools, hospital, food distribution centres, anything that Israel wants to bomb, it bombs, and anybody who protests, it says it's anti-Semitic. Any journalist that is speaking of Israeli war crimes, you're saying is a biased journalist, which is actually supporting Hamas. You know, so you're supporting terrorism by not saying we're the good guys. Just bullshit, incredibly crazy, deliberate bullshit, with Israel accusing everybody of doing exactly what it is doing while it is doing it. We've seen all this unfold in the last 50 to 60 years, culminating in what is happening, or actually 80 years, 90 years, culminating into what is now happening in Palestine, which will soon come to Western countries. I think today or tomorrow they're going to be signing the WHO treaty, the pandemic treaty, which is absolutely insidious. It's going to hand control of all Western governments over to the WHO, so that all you've got to do is claim there's another pandemic, and suddenly we're all under lockdown, and there was never any pandemic to begin with. That's the way these people work. It's insidious, folks. But again, the whole thing functions and it continues to operate this way. I mean, the only way the pandemic treaty is even going to work is because people believe the system is real, when it isn't. It's just a fiction. The whole thing is a fiction, folks. That's the thing. You know, the pandemic treaty, it doesn't matter what they write. If we don't want to comply with it, well, we don't comply with it. Because it's all a fiction anyway, and we know their pandemic's fiction, and we know that what they're doing isn't law, and we know that even if it is law, well, the governments have abdicated any privilege they had to even write laws via their support for an obvious genocide. Whether they choose to call it a genocide or not, it doesn't matter. It is a genocide, it's obvious. You know, you can't conduct conflicts in this way. You cannot conduct wars in this way. You cannot send pages in and blow up civilians because you believe they're working as contractors for a government that you disagree with. Well, it's a government we disagree with, so we're going to name it as a terrorist organisation because it's not complying with the way Israel wants to run the world, and so therefore they must be terrorists, and so therefore anybody who is contracting to these terrorists, such as plumbers and builders and all the sort of people that manage the roads and do any of this sort of stuff, anybody who's associated with government at all, will put in a virus in all of their communication devices so it'll blow their hands and faces off. Because they are collaborating with the government that they work for, that we don't like, so we'll name them as a terrorist organisation. That's all Hezbollah was. Hezbollah was simply like the Labour Party or the Liberal Party or whatever. You know, and don't believe all the bullshit the media tells you, because it's all run by the same frickin' people. A lot of the people in Lebanon loved Hezbollah. They did a lot of good stuff for them. They provided them with food and provided them with shelter and, you know, got everything working and running properly. Kicked all of the invaders out of the country. See, Israel was invading southern Lebanon for years. The way Israel's been invading Syria. Israel's attacking people on 7 fronts. Israel is attacking Syria, attacking Lebanon, attacking Jordan, attacking Yemen, you know, creating conflict in Egypt, and also bombing the shit out of Palestine. Attacking people on 7 fronts and claiming it's the victim and it's defending itself on 7 fronts. Remarkable. And it's able to do this because the United States is there funneling $10 million a day in weapons and support to this terrorist state so it can completely decimate and destroy the Middle East. Because Jews run America, you know? And because of that, you've got homeless people all over the streets in the United States and all these border lockdowns happening and all the shit that they're doing. You know, Trump is just playing things perfectly. He's completely crashing the world economy through all of his tariffs and all this sort of shit, all by design. I mean, he's just a puppet. It's all doing it the way it's supposed to be done, because, I mean, that's about the only person they can get to do it. You have the MAGA people still there cheering on and supporting Trump for what he's doing, not realizing that he's completely decimating their country. He's fixing up all of the obvious problems that were created for him to fix up, like the whole LGBTQ bullshit and all the stuff they've put us through in the last 5 years, all done by design so that Trump could come along and look like the savior of the world on his little stallion. And meanwhile, he's bringing in the surveillance state and crashing the economy and doing all of this stuff. But he's getting away with it because he's doing this other stuff on the side, which looks like he's healing the problems that were created for the United States. Very clever the way they do it, folks. Very clever. But that's how it works. But it's one big puppet show. The whole thing is a freaking puppet show, folks. And it's all, like I said, due to people's belief that the system is real. That's what creates the whole problem. People's belief in authority, which is what the scholastic system is all about. Just training people to believe that authority is real. But it's not. Yeah, and when you think about things, and it might sound a little new age to people, but things like conscious manifestation. There was a film I put out years ago called The Awakening, where I talked about conscious manifestation. I did a little bit as well in the last film I did, Transformation. The fact that the world we live in is an emotional mirror, and it will mirror back to us the energy we are putting into it. As I've often said, your whole life really is a prayer. You're a living, breathing, walking prayer, communicating with reality electromagnetically, through higher senses, through higher languages that we have mostly forgotten. Higher senses that we have that we've forgotten how to use because we've never been taught the language. But life is an emotional mirror. A lot of the reason that I bring you a lot of the stuff that I do, talking about Gaza and this genocide and everything that's happening, and where these politicians are attempting to lead the world, a lot of people can see this. A lot of people see it in their everyday life and they live in denial of it. They refuse to look at the shadow because they believe that it creates it by acknowledging it. Well, it doesn't. It actually creates it by you refusing to acknowledge it, and you should look at it. But then they think, well, with what you're saying, life is an emotional mirror, and I look at this, it's going to put me in a negative state, and then it's going to mirror that back to me. A lot of people see all this stuff, and it does put them in a negative state, where I see all of this stuff, and I simply see it as an acknowledgement of the darkness, and I find it empowering to have that knowledge. A lot of people don't understand that information is just light. All it takes is the processing of light and understanding how to process light. Some people have a great deal of difficulty processing certain forms of light because of the negative way it makes them feel. Whereas I look at all this stuff and I feel empowered and inspired to change it. I see all the people being blown to pieces in Gaza, and yeah, it tears at my heartstrings, but I also feel that it's an opportunity for me to shed light on that darkness and thus free the world of that darkness. Because all it's going to take to free the world of the darkness is for people to look at it and acknowledge it and see the light within themselves. That's why there is no political movement. There is no person you can vote in or vote out. There is no protest you can mount where you're marching down the street with flags that's going to make any difference to any of this at all. You might be increasing public awareness, but the media is just painting you as a bunch of terrorists and fools and subversives and insurgents, and the United States media is doing a great job of that, and so is the Trump administration, saying that any pro-Hamas protests, people will be arrested and deported. Well, they're not pro-Hamas, they're anti-genocide. And people think that marching in the street, well, it's going to make a difference, it's going to bring more people to your cause, but no, not with the media portraying it the way they are. I've often said the greatest form of protest and the greatest form of resistance that you can mount is non-compliance to the system. I've been saying this for 17 years on air. I've been saying it since I was at high school for the last 50. Stop complying with your own slavery. Your belief that the system is real is the entirety of the problem. Your belief that government actually has any validity. Gubermente, control mind. Mind control, that's what government is. And all of this is being laid completely bare now. The complete breakdown of any rules of war or any rules of humanity, if such a thing exists. Just concept of what it means to be a decent and humane person. All of this has been thrown aside with Gaza Strip and what's happening in Palestine. It got thrown aside before that with what people succumbed to in the COVID lockdowns. How people who wouldn't take the vaccine and wouldn't wear a mask and were calling this out as a fraud were just being shunned by the majority of society. And the majority of society was saying, they deserve to die. Like terrible, terrible things they were saying about the people who stood against the complete erosion of freedoms and the psychological and physical attack that was put on the people that was the COVID scamdemic, which was a complete scam. And they lied to us. They tried to kill so many people with vaccines. They did kill so many elderly people. Families out there that were denied seeing their grandparents when their grandparents were on their deathbeds in hospital, being fed things like midazolam and end-of-life drugs to terminate them. So many people who died during COVID were murdered by hospital staff. So many. And people were shunned. You weren't allowed to go to work. You weren't allowed to open your business. You weren't allowed to have anybody around. None of it was based on any medical reports at all. None of it was based on any medical information. None of it had any standing at all. It was all completely and utterly government overreach right from the start. We lost so much of our humanity through that. And then moving it into what we are now seeing happening in Gaza Strip. A world of children. 75% of the population is 17 years old or under. You can't tell me you're having a war against these people. It's a genocide, it's a slaughter. It takes two armies to have a war. It even takes two countries to have a war. Gaza and Israel, Palestine and Israel are the same country. The Holy Land of Israel always existed within Palestine. It was a place where holy teachings were taught. It was never a country, it was never a state. And these parasites have come along and turned it into what it is. Like everything has been flipped upside down. Even the Star of David, there is no Star of David, it's the Star of Renfan, the Star of Moloch, which is what? Moloch, child sacrifice. That's what a lot of this is about. That's why they keep the age down in Gaza Strip, kill all the parents, kill all the adults. And the people who get released, the alleged Israeli hostages that get released, come out looking just as good as they went in. Were they really hostages, or were they simply being held somewhere by Israel and making it look like hostages? Are they just actors? None of it would surprise me, folks. None of it would surprise me. I mean, Hamas was created by Israel anyway. Hamas was put in place so the Palestinians could vote Fatah out. And then as soon as Hamas was voted in, with a small majority, 52%, they were declared a terrorist organisation, and Israel locked Gaza down and put it under an illegal blockade, which it has remained under for the last 20 years. Benjamin Netanyahu himself said it's important to make sure Hamas is well funded and well looked after in order to prevent the formation of a Palestinian state. And they made sure that West Bank was governed by Fatah and the Palestinian Authority, and Gaza was governed by Hamas, so they would never meet and unite and never talk about a solution that was going to help all. Gaza was basically put under military rule by Israel. Oh, we moved out, we gave them Gaza. No, you put Hamas in place, you declared them terrorists, built a wall around the place, and kept it under blockade for 20 years. That isn't giving it freedom. Israel's always occupied Gaza. Not on the ground, hasn't had soldiers on the ground and checkpoints in there, but it's occupied everything that went in, everything that went out, put a big wall around the place and just controlled it externally. Wouldn't even let them go fishing. I saw some Israeli the other day had the audacity to post on social media, look at all the fish in the waters of Gaza, why are these people starving? Well, it's because Israel has gunboats just off the shore in Gaza, making sure no one goes out more than a quarter of a mile. If they do, they get shot at. I saw that when I was there in 2012. I saw Israeli gunboats shooting at Palestinian fishing boats which had breached the quarter mile that they're allowed to go from shore. But anyway, I keep getting stuck on this, don't I? But you look at all this stuff, folks, and to me I find it empowering because I can see the corruption of the governments. I can see that nothing they say means anything. You can't have a government talking to me about humanitarian affairs and say they are putting certain surveillance situations in place in my own country in order to protect the people, while they're supporting an open genocide and the slaughter of children and everything that's happening in Palestine. I mean, you just can't tell me this is real at all. So why would I believe anything they say in the face of what they do? And to me, I find it empowering. It makes me see myself as being a worthwhile human being. It makes me see them as being anything but worthwhile human beings. They're just a bunch of liars. And you can prove their lies. Exhibit A, the Earth. Have a look at the place. And you can see that they all work together. All of these governments work together. And even if they have a disagreement, like Putin and Zelensky, well, Putin doesn't get bombed and Zelensky doesn't get bombed, but they destroy each other's countries. Go and bomb the civilian infrastructure and take out a few people to convince the people that you're having a war, and just cull the human population a little bit more, which is exactly what the Jews want to do. And you begin to start seeing things from a different perspective and seeing the light of what's really going on, folks. And all of it makes me a stronger person. You know, everything I've ever tried to do with the radio shows and the videos and the films that I've done was make people stronger people. Help people be able to look at the darkness and see a positive side in their acknowledgement of the darkness. I see so many people out there going, fear, 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 fear. The whole world's going to turn to hell and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is if we let it. But we can stop it by applying ourselves to it. And really all we've got to do is apply ourselves to ourselves. Remember who and what we are. I've said this so many times, folks. That's all I've ever tried to do, is encourage people to remember who and what they are. It's important. I've done everything I can to try to help people. That's why I've never put money as a goal in what I do. You know, I've never had anything for sale. I've never run any retreats or workshops or sold any books, or, you know, and fine. I mean, if people are doing that, that's fine. It's just not the way I've done any of this stuff. I've done this the way I've done it because I want people to see that the reason I do this is because it needs to be done. I don't do it for any monetary gain. I didn't even let people know what I looked like for the first 4 years that I was doing this. It wasn't until someone filmed me in Slovenia and posted that online, I thought, oh, well, they know what I look like now. So then I didn't mind going on camera after that. I always wanted to just be a voice of reason that would help people rediscover themselves. That's what the goal has been. That's what my purpose has been through this whole thing. You know, but everything that I've tried, I mean, this whole truth movement, it's really freaking weird, folks. I went around and tried to unite as many people as I could. I met as many people as I could through the so-called truth movement. Tried to bring as many people together as possible. Help everyone see that we're actually all on the same page and we're doing this because it needs to be done. And I couldn't get anybody to agree with anything. I couldn't get anybody to just put down their own agenda. I found so many people that have agendas. So many people want to be gurus. So many people want to be the person, or want to be this, or want to be that. Seen as some wise person of knowledge, or whatever, you know. And I just find it fascinating. No, it's all good. No problem. Guy asked me if I mind him having dogs here in the park. Of course not. He's up there throwing sticks with barking dogs, wondering if it's going to disturb me. No, I'm good. I like dogs. I like all animals. Where was I? What was I saying? But yeah, I mean, I've done this because it needs to be done. And I found, you know, when I tried to go around and unite, I thought, well, you know, the whole truth movement, there's a lot of people. There's each, you know, people have their own groups of listeners and audience. If we can show these audiences that we're all on the same page, perhaps we could combine all of our audiences, and then we'd be a force to be reckoned with, because there are literally millions of people who listen to the alternate media. And I tried to go around and meet everybody that I could and try to unite everybody that I could. I just found so many egos and so many reasons why people wouldn't unite, you know. I mean, sure, there's a lot of good people still. I'm sure there's a lot of people I didn't meet. There's a lot of good people, a lot of good voices in the alternate media. But the thing is, you know, what's people's motivation in being in the alternate media? Is it to make a name for themselves, or to be someone famous or whatever? Or is it because this needs to be done? I never wanted to be famous. So I wanted to be famous. I could have been a famous guitar player years ago. I used to leave all the bands when they'd start to get a little bit of notoriety, because I didn't want to be famous. I saw what it did to people. I just wanted to play guitar. I didn't want to be in some famous pop band on TV and all that sort of crap. You know, not be able to walk down the street, everyone wants to take pictures of you and all sorts of bullshit. And I had so many friends OD and die along the way, because that's what musicians do. They get millions of dollars when they're too young to know how to handle it, and they think they're invulnerable, and they end up just killing themselves. You know, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, so many people. I mean, and all debatable, of course, how they died, especially Janis Joplin. You know, but so many people, like the Dead at 27 Club. And I was like that. I had an addictive sort of a personality. I think if I'd made $10 million by the time I was 25, I would have been dead when I was 27 as well. Because that's kind of what a young creative mind is like. And you give them too much money before they're old enough to know how to use that money, and they just fall apart. They think they're more than what they are. They start believing their own press. And I think that's what's happened with a lot of the alternate media, is that people just believe their own press. People write all these positive comments to them on their forums and in their chats and stuff, and they suddenly think they're fantastic. And I had people that wanted to set me up like that as well. I remember when I was living in Bundaberg, I got moved down to Byron Bay by someone, because they said they believed in my work so much and they wanted to help me out and give me a place to stay, and you know. And I went down there and they wanted to set me up as a local guru. It's like they wanted to have workshops and all sorts of crap like that. And I'm like, no, this isn't what it's about. You know, if you want to do this, obviously you're not listening to what I've been saying on my radio shows, because this is the opposite of what I want to do. I don't want to put any financial gain on any of this sort of stuff. They're saying, oh, he's got some karma with money. No, the whole financial system that enslaves us is everything we're trying to get away from. So people that are doing this as a career or an income or whatever, I mean, sure, And again, you know, I'm not saying anything wrong with that. But there's a higher harmonic to it all. I mean, sure, we all need income. I couldn't do this if it wasn't for donations, because I spent all my life savings trying to get this message out before I even started asking for donations. So I'm not begrudging anybody for any income that they're making. I'm just saying there's a higher harmonic to all of this. You know, the human race is in a state of clear and present danger. We are literally being exterminated. Look at the white people being exterminated. I mean, 50 years ago, white people were like 49% of the world population. And I reported a couple of years ago that we were down to 8% of the world population. I think now we're down to 7% of the world population. There are white people around. I mean, white people are who built all the Tartarian stuff. White people invented so many things, and they don't want that. And white people, incidentally, sort of come out of the Caucasus and out of the Germanic culture. I mean, English is a Germanic language. All of the pagan ways that the Christians would hate so much, but all of the old ways, the herbal ways, the natural remedies, natural medicines, all of this sort of stuff all came out of Germany, that area, you know. I mean, not all Germany, you know. There's a lot of white culture all through Europe, you know, Denmark, Norway. But it's all sort of, a lot of it has Germanic roots. Look at the old fairy stories and stuff, even Grimm's fairy tales and things like this are all basically Germanic, most of them. Hansel and Gretel, Pied Piper of Hamelin, where they stole all the children. There's actually a lot to that story, folks, the Pied Piper of Hamelin. You can actually go to Hamelin in Germany and they will tell you that there was a time a few hundred years ago when all of their children were stolen. Apparently taken underground. And a lot of culture, a lot of history, disguised as mythology, has come from that area, which is why the Jews really wanted to destroy Germany. Why they've attacked Germany so much. The German people have been browbeaten and, you know, fed this guilt that is their whole personality. I did a talk in Germany back in around about 2015 or something like that, 2014 or 2015 in Berlin. And at the end of my talk, someone asked me, one of the questions, it was a British guy. I could tell he was setting me up. But one of the questions he asked was, what do you think was the biggest crime of World War II? And I said, the bombing of Dresden and the establishment of Rheinwiesenlager, the Rhine Valley camps. And when I said that, 2/3 of the audience got up and walked out of the room. Young German people. And I got approached by two young girls, young women, around about 20 years old. After I finished my talk, they came up to me, they were completely stressed out and said, why did I say that? And why didn't I say the Holocaust was the worst crime of World War II? And they were really stressed out that I hadn't said that and that I'd mentioned Dresden and Rheinwiesenlager. And I basically said to them, well, you know, it was taken out of context and blah, blah, blah. I got this sort of, calmed them down a little bit. And then they left. And then the organizer of the conference came to see me and said he wanted me to come back into the room and to sit on a panel and speak on a panel to answer questions from the crowd, because I'd stressed out so much of the crowd with what I've said. And I said to him, oh, was it two young women who were stressed out? And he said, yes. And I said, oh, I've just cleared it up with them. They're fine now. And he said, oh, okay, well, just wait and I'll go and find them. So he went out to find them. And as soon as he left the room, I just grabbed my stuff and left. Got out of there because I thought, well, shit. They're going to put me up on a panel and they're going to ask me questions and I'm going to be forced to be honest because I'm an honest person. And I'm going to end up getting arrested and doing 10 years in a German jail if I don't get the fuck out of here. So I just left. And that's Germany. There is this guilt which has become this integral part of their character, of their psychological makeup. And that is who they are. They believe they are these guilty people. You have 14-year-old kids who want to commit suicide simply because they were born German. This has been instilled into every aspect of German life. And the goal is to completely demoralize and humiliate the German people and the German culture, because so many fantastic things came out of the German culture. And a lot of Western civilization actually came out of the German culture. Like I said, even English is a Germanic language. So yeah, we're in a state of clear and present danger, folks. What can I say? We are. And again, people see it. They hate on the Jews. Oh, they're so easy to hate. I mean, they're making sure that you hate them. All just the posts that they put on X, you know, which are just like hate bait. All of it. You know, people like, there's a guy called Hillel Fudd or some fucking thing. And there's a bunch of them, you know. Elon Levi, and there's a bunch of them. Dr. David Eli, there's a bunch of them that are out there posting stuff so joyously. And you know it's completely wrong. It's been stated completely backwards, and they're just celebrating genocide, and they're doing it in order to get you angry. That's the emotion that they want, because life is an emotional mirror. And it's easy to do. It's easy to fall into that hatred, folks. But there is a higher harmonic. You don't need to hate these people. What you've got to do is look at what their plan is and what their ploy is and what their methodology is. As I said, they lie. They never admit they're lying, and then they keep lying. That's what they do, and they do it with such indignant outrage to make you think it's true. And they accuse their enemy of doing what they are doing as they are doing it, in order to sow confusion and to get you angry again. So what you got to do is see it as empowering. You're simply seeing through the veil. You're seeing the evil for what it is, and you're realizing that the only reason this evil is even able to continue existing is because we believe the system is real, and we are willing to comply with the dictates given to us by war criminals who are supporting the outrageous build-up of evil in the world today. The outrageous establishment of evil as being part of our societies and the way our political systems and lives should be governed. Now we're allowing this, folks, through our belief that the system is real, when we've been given every opportunity to call it out for what it is, this dysfunctional facade, this farce that we call government, and these pompous political parasites we call politicians. You know, and all we've got to do is acknowledge the people around us. In Lakesh, I am another yourself. I've been saying this again every single show since my very first radio show. In Lakesh, I am another yourself. We are all simply expressions of consciousness here having this experience together. Don't try to be better than your neighbours or more important than somebody else. Realize we are all in this game together. All of these divisions and measurements that we measure ourselves up to, all these parameters that we're given to measure ourselves up to, all the trappings of society, none of them mean shit. None of them mean anything. We are all simply individual expressions of consciousness, individual expressions of a thought in the mind of God. Here to be the best version of yourself that you possibly can. That's all that's important. That is all that's important. And what this whole fight is about, what all these podcasts and all this shit is about, is freedom. Freedom. Freedom to be all that you can be and to be the best expression of yourself that you can possibly be. That's what life is for. And everybody is different. Everybody is simply a unique expression in the mind of God. But we're taught that we've got to compete with each other, we've got to be better than each other, we've got to be the latest guru, we've got to do the best video clip, we've got to do the best this, we've got to do the best that. You know, because when I do it, I'll feel better than you, and I'll feel that I am better than you. Now look at me, everybody. I'm a rising star. It's just such a bunch of bullshit, folks. We're just here to express ourselves and be all that we can be. And we've been given every opportunity to do that. Simply see these political, pompous parasites as being what they are, getting out there and lying through their teeth to you every single day, and realize that the only reason they're able to get away with it is because people believe the system is real. And it's not. It's just an idea. It's a meme. The whole system is a meme. It's a concept passed down to people generationally, their belief that the system is real. Yeah, it's a joke, you know, people can't see the forest for the trees. The way out of this mess is so profoundly simple. And that's, I guess, why people can't see it, because they cannot see that which is right in front of their faces, because to see it might mean that they would have to believe in themselves. And that's something that absolutely terrifies most people. Yeah, there's a lot wrong with the world. Someone should fix it, but not me. When all you have to do to fix it is to remember who and what you are. That's what I've been saying in every radio show, in every film I've ever made. It's been the message right from the very start. You know, people haven't really taken it on board and done much about it. I mean, a lot of people have, but a lot of people haven't, which is why we see things such as the genocide in Gaza and all the stuff that's happening. It's how they were able to get away with this whole COVID scamdemic. It's how they've been able to turn Australia into this ridiculous surveillance state that it's now become. You hardly see any police on the roads anymore in Australia because they don't really need them. They only need them out on the highway to pull up speeders. But they don't really need them everywhere else because there are hundreds and hundreds of cameras everywhere you go. Everybody is tracked and traced. Everybody's held to account. Step outside the lines, we'll just send you a fine in the mail. If you don't pay it, we'll cancel your rego, we'll steal your house, we'll put you in jail, we'll do all the stuff we can because we care. This is what it's come down to. And as I've said before, the Australian government hasn't even put out a valid law since 1973, since they incorporated. So none of it is valid anyway, and even if it was valid, well, they're war criminals. Get them to explain themselves to the people and get us to explain to us why we should consider anything they do to be valid when they've abdicated any privilege they ever had to govern. Yeah, but anyway, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now. Same thanks I always put out to people, and thank you to anybody who's supported my friend Nidal in Gaza. I have such concern for his safety. He's such a beautiful man, and he has such a lovely family. I've actually had his family on the videos. You've seen them wish me a long life. With what they're facing, they still do that sort of stuff. The Palestinian people are beautiful, kind, gentle people. They're not anything that the Israelis say they are, and the intent of Israel has always been genocide. You can see just from that video that I had at the start, some of the stuff they said in that was back at the beginning of the conflict. And there's absolutely no doubt at all that Israel killed the majority of people who died on October the 7th. Most of them were killed by IDF, killed by friendly fire. Helicopters strafing the crowd as they were leaving, tanks blowing up homes in the kibbutz, burning all those cars in the car park, even if they're real. Half of it's probably AI. You saw that most of the alleged camera footage was actually AI. So, Israel killed their own people and set this whole thing up. And there's even a lot of Israelis that know that as well. A lot of Jews, it's obvious to them that this was a setup.
Everyone everyone knows that what happened on October 7th was an Israeli setup. Everyone knows it.
What? Look at him smile.
It was an Israeli setup.
Yeah, so thank you to the people speaking out about it. Thank you to everybody who donated to my friend Nadal. I hope he's still okay. If you're watching this, brother, I hope you're okay. Call me again when you can. I don't like to call him too much because I don't want to have him sort of sitting somewhere keeping quiet with IDF walking past and suddenly his phone starts ringing. So he's managed to stay alive through the whole 18 months of this genocide happening. But with the new Operation Gideon's Chariots that Israel's doing, which is just turning the whole place to dust, I really don't like his chances. I just don't like anybody's chances, and those that do survive will be held in these concentration zones, and they'll make life absolutely unlivable for them and force them to leave. But of course, it's not ethnic cleansing. Yeah, but thank you to anybody speaking out about this, folks. It really has separated the wheat from the chaff. Now, you've seen who's prepared to actually put their hearts on the line and speak the truth, and who's just willing to turn the other way. And all the people who are supporting Trump and all this. Trump is such a freaking player. He's an actor like all the others. He's totally cleaning up, I'd say, with insider trading at the moment. Oh, we're going to put tariffs here. Market crashes. Oh, we're going to remove the tariffs. I just changed my mind. Market goes back up again. What stocks is he buying when all this happens? You know, he'd be cleaning up. He'd be making billions of dollars in insider trading through all this sort of shit. And he's a total player, and there's so many people still supporting him. You know, it's really exposed all of those people. It's exposed who's actually willing to tell the truth in the alternate media as well. There's so many people who be coming out saying all this war is fake, it's all Hollywood, it's all smoke and mirrors and rubber babies and shit. You know, it's really exposed a lot of the Zionist players, folks. A lot of the people that are brainwashed by religion and brainwashed by Zionists and actually working for Zionists. It's exposed all of that. But yeah. Litecoin in February, in September as well, folks. Litecoin is happening in Europe. I'm going to be speaking at that. You'll find a link below to the Acapulco website. I think you'll find a Litecoin link there. And if you want to come say hi in Europe in September, I'll be there. If you use my coupon, Igan, I-G-A-N, you will get a discount on your ticket, a 10% discount. Hope to see you there. I think Acapulco will be happening in February as well, and the same deal applies. If you use my coupon, you get a 10% discount, and I hope to see you there. Also, Jamie McIntyre's conference is happening in July, I think the 19th and the 20th of July. It's like a Freedom Summit or something like that. It's an awards night as well for people in the alternate media that have made a difference. I was going to be there in person, but now I don't think I will be. Now I think I will be speaking virtually. But it would be good to see people go and support it. It's going to be on the Gold Coast, I think, in Broadbeach. And I think it's just called Freedom Summit. And I'll put a link below so you can go and check it out, get yourself a ticket if you want to. And hopefully it'll be a really good event. I would say I'd see you there, but I doubt that I'm actually going to be there. I'll probably be doing the talk that I'm doing virtually, so yeah. And that's about it for me, I think, today, folks. Cold, miserable day, but I thought I'd come and give you a video anyway while there's no rain, because it's just continuing to rain, as you can see. All this water on the walking trail here, and that tree that's fallen down over there. It's just this ongoing shit fight here with the geoengineering folks, but of course they can't control the weather. Yeah, right. But yeah, thank you for joining me on this report. Thank you to all the people on the front line speaking out. Thank you to all the people who send me so many kind emails. Thank you to anybody who donates or has ever made a donation or contribution to the website, folks. You have made as much a difference as I am, because it is you people who have kept me on the air since I ran out of funds about 8 years ago. So I really appreciate that. And together we can keep this message happening, folks, and keep it getting out to the world, and you know, it's a good thing. And we will come through this. Now, whatever happens, you know, I think we got this, folks, and I think we're going to come through. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now, folks. Thank you for joining me on this report today. I'll look forward to bringing you another one soon, weather depending. Please take very good care until we speak next. In Lakesh.